call this regular scheduled meeting to order. If you will join in salute to our nation's flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. We will start with a roll call and declarations of conflicts of interest. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Larson?
Yes and no.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes and no.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes and no.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes and no.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes and no. Thank you. So we're all here, and the no is we have no conflicts. Moving on to approval of agenda as posted or amended.
Mayor, I'm going to move to amend, please. I'd like to move item 8A to the next item in front of proclamations, if somebody wants to.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for 8A to move. We're also going to be polling for staff's request. 7, Mr. Wilson, 7, help me. 7, going once, going twice.
7A,
I'm sorry.
BCD.
No, it's, yes, 7A, 7A, thank you. So that will be pulled for another day.
So, as amended. With
All right.
both amendments.
And a second to that. Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati? Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes on 5-0. Thank you for that. Let's get to item 8A. Mr. Wilson.
Mayor, members of the council, this item has to do with the council report on homelessness prepared by council members Moniz and Vice Mayor Franco several weeks ago now. This is a committee that made a variety of recommendations, including the addition of one part-time homeless program coordinator, which the city council approved as a part of the city's reorganization on April 12th. Further recommendations include, but are not limited to, continuing to support the gospel mission and We Care as primary providers of emergency shelter services until the Turlock Fair facilities as backup shelter. Develop stronger relationships with our churches and other religious institutions already providing services and assistance. Identifying resources available to homeless veterans via the Veterans Administration. I actually talked to the Veterans Service Office, and they've recently hired a full-time counselor to work specifically with homeless veterans and are available to participate in on-site interactions, including in Turlock. Work with the League of California Cities and representatives from our state legislature in pursuing legislative changes to resolve the issues brought forward in Martin versus City of Boise case that has severely hampered local ordinances being used as tools in working with the homeless. We will also work with our state legislators to get a bill passed that reflects what we are doing here in Turlock. Work with the Turlock Hospital Mission, establishing appropriate signs at key intersections to give residents an alternative to handing out money to panhandlers. And our city finance department can set up the required accounting program to do that. That was good.
Okay.
Secondly, adopt a resolution of support for Legacy Health Endowment and CareLink's grant application for respite care and homemaker services, which will provide long-term care at home for Turlock residents that are 55 or older who do not qualify for Medi-Cal. 8 LHE would provide an additional $650,000 to assist Turlock and other residents in their geographical jurisdictions, and will provide the city council with quarterly updates. They also enter into an agreement with Legacy Health Endowment to prepare an RFP for mobile services to aid families in need, including the homeless, with primary care services and free prescription drug coverage. Anyone with or without health insurance would be eligible. This will be a first in the nation. Continue to establish annual goals for reducing the homeless population. The current estimated number of homeless in our community is 250, so a tentative goal is to reduce that number by 50% by each year's end. As additional information, the county has established two care teams through its probation department. This is a multidisciplinary team of members from the mental health, public health, criminal justice, and other service providers to facilitate, provide, and share responsibilities in assessment, coordination, and treatment services to most appropriately meet complex mental, physical, and social needs of the targeted population. The care team assists not only in the county but in cities as well. They've opened an office in Turlock, and the Turlock Police Department has assigned a police sergeant patrol officer to work with the care teams. We will arrange a presentation inform the city council of this program by a presentation from the care team at the May 24th council meeting. The basis for the recommendation is a well thought out plan and program will have significant positive impact on the homeless in Turlock. The plan addresses emergency and transitional beds, long-term housing potential, provides access to county job training programs, helps individuals and families from sliding into homelessness, provide law enforcement with better tools and resources for interacting with the homeless population, and give citizens an alternative way to support our community partners. Subsequent to these actions, the council will return at a future date to propose further actions that should probably be over the next 2 or 3 months until a part-time coordinator can be inserted. Many remaining actions cannot be acted upon. Fiscal impact of this would be about $750,000. This is dependent on the negotiations of various agreements and programs. ARPA, CDBG, and home funds will be the funding sources for these agreements.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Wow, okay. Let's open it. Yes, Mr. Truella, you're way ahead. You had it 5 minutes ago. Come up, sir.
Council staff and Turlock citizens, Milt Treeweiler. The best way to address the homeless issue in Turlock is to consult the experts. Here's an expert on the homeless issue. Let's listen and see what she has to say.
While people may feel like there's a debate, anyone who looks at the evidence, anyone who looks at the real data and the real evidence, there is no debate, and there hasn't been a debate for 20 or 30 years. There is absolutely no question that housing first is well supported by the literature. You get 80, 90, 95% of people housed as opposed to 5, 10, 15% of people housed when you demand services first. I think the other thing that
we're talking about, crucially, we're talking about preconditions. You know, you can only have this housing if you are sober or something else.
Preconditions. Absolutely. We did, for the first 15 or so years of the modern era of homelessness, that was the philosophy. The stepwise, you sort of needed to prove your worth, and then eventually you could get housed. What we found is some people were housed and sober, but most people remained homeless. There's no question in anyone's mind who actually studies this issue and doesn't look at it with with a moral judgment or a religious idea or something. I believe, I'm a scientist. I believe in science. The science on this is crystal clear. I think that, from my mind as a physician, I look at mental health and substance use as diseases, challenges, often a response to trauma. Many people struggle with substances as a response to deep trauma, as a sort of reason, as a way to cope with terrible experiences. What I don't look at them as is signs that people are amoral or immoral. I like to say that if you look at the history of medicine, in the medieval times, we thought epilepsy was thought to be people possessed by the devil. And with our modern viewpoint, we laugh at that and we think, why would they think that? I am convinced that in the next 50 or 100 years, what I hope is that people are going to look back at our sort of moralizing way and looking at people with mental health and substance use as sort of possessed by the devil and think, what were they thinking? So we don't force people to live in the street because they have cancer. We should not force people to live in the street as some sort of punishment for having a disease like a mental health disability. That doesn't make any sense. The vast majority of people with mental health disabilities and substance use challenges are housed, and there's nothing in those problems that means you can't be housed.
Okay, so what we learned here is that housing first, you get 80% or more of the people housed. That's the whole objective here, to keep the people who are homeless off of our streets and someplace where they can have some kind of normal life. We learned that mental health and substance uses is a disease. It's often the response to trauma. We don't force people to live in the streets because they have cancer. We should not force people to live in the street as some sort of punishment for having a disease like a mental health disability. I wanted to take a look. This is the report that came out, and I wanted to just comment on one section here, and that is the Legacy Health Report underscores the importance of a plan, implementation, and leadership. The Turlock City Council should take productive steps to help those in need of concurrently protecting the rights of the citizens by encouraging, when necessary, enforcing community standards. This is not what it should be saying. It should not be enforcing community standards. It should be enforcing the law. We have a responsibility to enforce the law, not community standards. Community standards could be totally incorrect. Community standards could be, I don't like you because of the color of your skin. That's not the law. You can't discriminate against these people. And I was also disappointed by the fact that it talks about the Martin versus City of Boise thing and make it sound good. It's not really good. I don't believe we should use sworn officers to work with the homeless population. Like the 911 emergency department,
Thank you, Mr. Treewell.
they should be regular workers
Thank you, Mr. Treewell.
in the police department,
person
but not sworn officers.
Thank you, Mr. Treewell. Next person? Anybody else wishing to speak? Yes, come on up. This is regarding the homeless thing, right? Okay, please. Well, I'm sorry. You know what? I just thought these were all public comment. My apologies. If yours was for that, I apologize. Just keep coming up. We're good. We're good. It's, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I'm sorry, Terry.
So we listened to the city manager's recommendation to adopt the council report on homelessness, and that sounds well and good, but I wanted to address something from a couple of meetings ago when there was a proposed homelessness coordinator as part of the reorg plan, and it started out being recommended to be full-time, and that was carefully put together and recommended as needed by Sarah Eddy and our new police chief. They both felt it was important to be a full-time job. One thing that I do know, we have a full-time officer, Ian Rodriguez, Officer Ian Rodriguez, and he is the neighborhood resource officer. He is overwhelmed with his working as a neighborhood resource officer. He works with the homeless population. He deals with blight. His whole job is that, and there's no way he can begin to keep up. So it seems to me that this proposed homelessness coordinator could help put that together, help coordinate all the resources that are available. There are grants, there's money coming in. If it were all centralized with this homelessness coordinator and working with the full-time officer, I think we'd get better results because things would be working together and reaching out. And I don't think a half-time position is going to be enough. I think it really, truly needs to be full-time. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back for comment and.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. First being on that, I was one of the council members that proposed to make that be part-time, and I've received a lot of feedback from the community who are paying attention to that discussion, saying that, hey, we do need a lot of effort being put to this. And so even though I fundamentally believe that the entire homelessness issues that we deal with at a local and city level, we deal with a lot of symptoms, and we deal with a lot of lack of support and programs from a state and federal and even county level that we have to end up dealing with. So that fundamentally just makes me want to not put as many resources straight from our taxpayer when there should be other parts of the government that are using the taxpayer dollar to address this huge nationwide issue. However, just like in our last meeting, our finance director said that this is a living document, as our budget is, and the reorganization and the recommendation from staff, and I am more than happy to be proved wrong if that's what we need to do. So I'm comforted that that is what our city staff and what our council is willing to look at as a living document if there is a need. I really encourage our city manager to come back and say, hey, Councilor Larson, you were wrong about that. We actually really need it. We are absolutely innovative. Okay. That's fair by me. So, but I just wanted to kind of address that side of it. The second thing I wanted to add in the resolution itself, there's talking about really what we're telling our city manager to do within this agreement, within the report that was created by my colleagues. And just one bullet point I wanted to add on to when we talk about the legislative piece and really that arm of our effort to address the homelessness issue. It says we talk about working with the League of Cities, but there are so many more methods that we really need to be focusing on. The League of Cities scope and the organization is to represent cities and really focuses on like a local autonomy, which is great and wonderful. However, their focus on maybe like assembly bills or Senate bills are going through the state legislature and the federal government. The focus is a little bit different. So I really want to add to this that we also really utilize our Townsend agreement, our lobbyists that are in Sacramento, and make sure that if there are bills and pieces of legislation that really talk about supporting homelessness initiatives or giving more resources to your local authorities like Turlock, like local cities, then we need to have resolutions supporting those. We need to have letters of support that are signed by our mayor, that are approved by all of us at the council level to support those initiatives. Those are really where we're going to get into changing how local authorities such as ours can really address these issues, and really when we're in conflict with the city, the Boise decision. So it's a lot more than just working with the League of Cities. I really hope that we as a city, and also working with Legacy Health Endowment, because they're going to have ears on the ground in terms of watching what's happening in Sacramento, funding availability, that we need to be on top of it, and also even working with learning, being aware and supporting legislation that's coming through our county supervisors as well. There's a lot of stuff that's happening at that level that we need to be in support of. Turlock's in support of this. It's not based if it has anything to do with this realm. So I think that legislative piece that we talk about needs to be a lot more stronger and a higher focus on it. That's the only thing I would add to the report.
Comments?
I just have some questions. I'm not sure who would be the person responsible for addressing them, but the first one is, at the top, Milt talks about housing first specifically for those that have debilitating mental health conditions and or substance abuse disorders. Within our plan here, how are we going to be addressing those needs? I know that we recognize that there is shortages in particular types of housing, so could you speak to that?
Well, in the council members' plan, they specifically talk about housing, and we specifically are looking around for opportunities to purchase properties or facilities that would allow us to start putting an impact on housing. But the reality is the housing market is so expensive that we have limited resources being able to actually have a real impact on that. But we're in fact looking for those opportunities.
So within this report, and like by signing off on the acceptance of this report, would I be approving a decision that affirms that this council will be pursuing efforts to find stabilized housing for those with mental health conditions and substance abuse disorders?
Well, I guess, like I said, we're looking around for places to find opportunities to do that from a housing perspective, whether it be existing housing or if we have the opportunity to buy a piece of ground that could build housing, that's what we would pursue.
So if there is a nonprofit in our community that wants to service these particular organizations and has a proposal to bring forward for this council for consideration, how would that look? How would I, as a council member, become aware of that?
Well, they would bring it either to the city manager's office to be put on the agenda, okay, which in the absence of a homeless coordinator, the city manager's office would do that. We're recruiting for that homeless coordinator, but we don't have that person yet.
But Mr. Wilson, it also, when you talk about, there's different components here. You talk about mental health and drug addiction and building homes and mental health facilities. That we pulled the item off, but I mean, building homes is gonna come with the home concept that we have there, which is, there's millions of dollars in that fund that's been unspent apparently. So this is kind of the direct hit of people right there, right now, and the building of homes would be in that other funding, presumably, am I right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to just have assurance that what I would be signing off on here confirms that we as a council, if a nonprofit wants to provide, stabilizing conditions for those with these illnesses, will have an avenue to provide proposals within our community. And just kind of, that's a key concern of mine, because I do recognize that right now we do have a shortage of that particular type of housing, with the only shelter being emergency overnight shelter. Those that have those underlying conditions, needs, right now are being neglected.
Can I ask a question?
Good.
Yeah, so are you referring to a specific nonprofit? Because we're in touch with all of our nonprofit providers. Is there somebody missing that I don't know about?
No, I'm just asking for amongst the general community, like in the event that we did have a nonprofit that wanted to provide these services within the national providers or state providers that could potentially service this community, would they have an avenue? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they? I mean, I take pride in the fact that we're trying to work hand in hand with our nonprofit providers, because they play a key role in this plan that's sitting here.
Absolutely.
Great. I just want that assurance. And then maybe someone could speak to the specifics. I think the enforcing community standards, we have community standards in the document 3 times. 2 times it says, let's see, it says maintaining local community standards, and then 1 time it says, and by enforcing local ordinances. So maybe this is something that just needs to be an amendment to the document for the purpose of clarification of enforcing our ordinances for maintaining, I'm wondering if there's any liabilities or concerns related to the languaging there, that we are simply looking at enforcing local ordinances after the assurances that baseline shelter services are provided.
Yeah, and I made a note when Mr. Treeweiler commented on community standards, and it's not, I think a better phrasing would have been, enforce community standards as reflected in local ordinances or the Turlock Municipal Code. It's certainly, the intent wasn't to try to enforce some amorphous standards. It was, linked back to the ordinances.
As I mentioned, it's in there 3 times. It says maintain local standards by enforcing local ordinances twice. And then the 1 time it says.
It doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it might just be.
That's probably what it is, because I think that, I think in the original report, I remember that, and that was the concept was about the local.
Maintaining local
Right,
ordinance.
but some people sort of,
Or-
we're in a world now where some people don't want the law enforced, so it was a little bit of like trying to make the link, but it wasn't supposed to be standardless, I would understand the concern about saying we're gonna enforce community standards that aren't written down anywhere. We wouldn't want to do that.
Okay. And there's conversation related to the part-time staff, a reduction of part-time staff. And my colleague, Councilmember Larson, indicated that if our staff recognizes that the reduction of resources being allocated to this individual kind of debilitates our ability to implement and execute on this plan, it would come back to us with another proposal. When do you foresee that being proposed?
Well, as I said, we're recruiting for the coordinator position now. So we got to get one on board and see what they can do with the material and the tools that the council's already provided. If we find, in fact, that's not enough, then I would certainly bring that issue back to the council for further consideration.
Comments, questions?
Motion to approve item 8A, and I just want to say thanks for getting this on. We've been waiting for this for a while, and I know you guys have been working very hard, and you've been bogged down with the workload. And thank you to Dr. Lewis, because you're hiding back there behind somebody on the back row. Thank you for being here and putting this together for us. It means a lot, and I'm so happy that we're able to finally move forward and help our folks. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, it passes 5-0. Thank you for that. Moving back to proclamations. Mr. Huff? Don't know why I can't get this.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My name is David Huff. I'm the Acting Muni Director, and I'm here to represent the proclamation for Public Works Week. So whereas Public Works are a critical, integral part of the citizens' everyday, and whereas public works systems and programs include but aren't limited to water, sewer, wastewater treatment, streets, street lights, traffic signals, public buildings, parks, landscape areas, engineering, transit and solid waste collection, and whereas the health and safety and well-being of Turlock greatly depend on public works and related services, and whereas public works in concert with public safety are critical to the migration and resolution of natural and man-made disasters, and whereas the effectiveness of the qualified and dedicated personnel who serve in the public works profession can be enhanced by increasing our citizens' understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas this year's theme, Ready and Resilient, challenges public works professions and citizens to think about the role public works plays in creating a great place to live. By working together, the impact citizens and public works professionals can have on their communities magnifies results and the ability to accomplish goals once thought unattainable. So now, therefore, on behalf of Mayor Blueback and City Council, we do here proclaim May 15th through 21 as Public Works Week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. On behalf of Interim Director Huff and myself, we'd like to thank all of our Public Works employees for their hard work, dedication, and professionalism while they're working through the infrastructure, the critical infrastructure of the city of Turlock. We don't get to see the things that they do on a daily basis, but I can assure you that it's essential to the quality of life that we all enjoy here at the city of Turlock. We want to thank them.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Chief, are you going to have the new captain do it?
I am going to have the captain come up here and join me to accept this proclamation. This is our newest captain, Captain Steve Rodriguez. He was promoted last week. It's my honor to present this proclamation in honor of National Police Week, May 15th through 21st, 2022. Whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week of which May 15th falls as National Police Week, and whereas members of the law enforcement agency of the Turlock Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of the city of Turlock, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of the law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding lives and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the City of Turlock Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now therefore, on behalf of Mayor Amy Bublak and the entire City Council, call upon all citizens of the City of Turlock, upon all patriotic, civic, educational organizations to observe the week of May 15th through May 21st, 2022 as National Police Week.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Thank you, new captain.
Congratulations, new captain.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right. On to public participation. I have some cards here. Louise Burgess.
I'm here specifically tonight to ask about the old Churros Pizza building located on the corner of Golden State Boulevard and Olive Avenue. It has been vacant and a shell of a building for, I believe, ever since the pizza business moved out and relocated many years ago. The building is truly an eyesore and an embarrassment to me and probably many of Turlock citizens. Whoever owns the building, out of respect and consideration of the citizens and other businesses in the area, I feel like it should either be finished. You know, it looks like they were trying to work on it, but then they just stopped. They either need to finish it or demolish it. Do you know if there's any plans for that building? And if so, what?
Thank you. I guess we're just going to keep trying new things until we get a communications person to put stuff online. So, Ms. Quintero, if you could just address that real quick, so if anybody else had a question, we won't have to belabor it.
Yes. Good evening. The building at the corner of Golden State and Olive does have plans that have been approved through the building permit plan check process to do remodeling of the building. So the plans are ready. The permit is still active to be issued. So they have gone through the process of getting plans approved to renovate that building.
So what kind
Thank-
of business is going in there? Or is it a business or?
At this time, there's not a specified tenant. It's for remodeling, what we call a shell tenant improvement that would address the outside of the building and put in walls. It is not tenant specific at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Quintero. Now we have our librarian, Ms. Mendoza.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karina, and I'm happy to say summer reading is upon us, which I am kind of blown away to think it's already that time, but it starts on Tuesday, May 17th. I've left flyers in the back, that explain our different programs. We have a 0 to 18 and a 19 or 18 and above. It's completely on the Beanstack app. You can also go to our website, but it's super simple. You can download the app on your phone. It'll keep track of your reading. If you're familiar with Goodreads, it's very similar, except it doesn't have ties to any corporations that will keep track of your data. So that's always a plus. And I left flyers in the back that tells you how to download the app, explains it, and they're all bilingual. So it's English on one side, Spanish on the other. So, and one of the reasons is like, oh, why do you do it? It's fun. I do it. Y'all can do it. You could also win prizes. So after you read a certain amount of books, do a little reviews, you'll get virtual tickets and a little like achievement badge if you're familiar with games. So you get to add that on there. There's some amazing prizes. They won't tell me all of them yet, but they said they're great. That's all I've been told. You'll be blown away. But one of the main reasons we do this is that according to a 2019 California Assessment of Student Performances and Progress, 32% of children are reading at the grade level, which means 68% are not. And that's pre-COVID. So obviously we need to focus on literacy in this county. And you may not be familiar, there is a thing called the summer slide. So kids that end the school year start the next school year reading at a lower level, math skills are lower level than when they left the previous year. So if they continue to read the summer, learn new things, we're trying to prevent it. Okay. The one thing we keep getting asked about, state park passes. We have them. There is currently a very large wait list. We tell people to be patient. If you want to travel to a state park, a California state park for free, call us, log on to our website, download the app, just look for California State Library or just Parks Pass. You'll come it, you can add it yourself to the list. We currently only have 14 passes. They check out for 2 weeks. We are supposed to be getting more sometime next week, we're hoping. We'll find out. But this program is funded for the next 2 to 3 years, I believe. So even though there's a long wait list now, the wait list isn't going to be forever. But while you're waiting for the park pass, we are a part of a program called Discovery and Go. It's through our website. I don't know if most people haven't heard of it. Super simple. You just put in your library card number and a PIN. The PIN is the last 4 digits of the phone number we have on file. You can visit museums throughout California for free. So there's the DeYoung Museum. You'll get a free pass per card. There is the California Academy of Sciences. Again, offers it for free. You pick the date, you go on that date. There's also the Sacramento, I put it right down because I always forget, the Crocker Art Museum in Sacramento. The only requirement is that you do have to have a library card in good standing and live within Stanislaus County because it is tied to your zip code. And that's everything we have going on, which is a lot. I always say visit our website, like stanislauslibrary.org or stanlibrary.org, to get the newest happenings of what we offer. And just want to say thank you for shopping in Stanislaus County because you support local businesses and you fund the library. 1/8 of a cent isn't a whole lot, but we can make a lot of good use with that money. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Mr. Treeweiler.
Did everyone get the flyer okay, thank you. Tonight I want to talk about a very serious conversation on the subject of mental illness. Naoma Judd recently died of the disease of mental illness. This week, Vicky White, an Alabama jail official who helped an Alabama murder suspect escape from jail, died of the disease of mental illness. There are people in Turlock who suffer from the disease of mental illness. And on your flyer, I've got the information that talks about what I'll be talking about in just a minute. Knowledge gives us the ability to understand what's going on in our city and what our citizens need. Tonight I'm going to talk and discuss mental disorders. There are nearly 300 mental disorders listed in the DSM-5 Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders. This is a handbook used by health professionals to help identify and diagnose mental illnesses. Some of the main groups of mental disorders are mood disorders, such as depression or bipolar disorder, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, psychotic disorders such as schizophrenia, eating disorders, trauma-related disorders such as post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse disorders, and of course many more. The diagnosis of mental illness can be controversial. There's been many debates in the mental community about what is and isn't a mental illness. The definition can be influenced by our society and culture, but most mental illnesses occur across all countries and cultures. This suggests that they're not just constructed by social norms or expectations, but have a biological and psychological basis to them. The second part here, at the bottom of your page that I passed out, is the anascheniza, which is a Greek word. When someone rejects a diagnosis of mental illness, it's tempting to say that he's in denial. But someone with acute mental illness may not be clearly thinking enough to consciously choose denial. They may instead experience lack of insight or lack of awareness. The formal medical term of this medical condition is anaschenia, with the Greek meaning of to not know a disease. When we talk about anaschenia in mental illness, we mean that someone is unaware of their own mental health conditions and that they can't perceive their condition accurately. Anesthesia nausea is a common symptom to some mental illnesses. So these are the things we've got to think about when we talk about the homeless population. We are not addressing their needs. And when I talk about housing, obviously you know I'm not talking about expensive housing. There are $13,000 houses. My sister wanted to put them at the We Care shelter. She was not allowed to do that. It would have helped maybe 5 or 6 more people. We have vacant land in Turlock right now owned by the city of Turlock over here on our west side. We could set up an area where we could house people in $13,000 houses. Obviously, it's going to cost more than that because you're going to have someone taking care of them. But we're doing something. We're making a positive step forward. But actually, what we seem to be doing, we seem to be going the way the way the ACLU reports California's shameful war on unhoused people. They say in their report there's more than 155,000 unhoused people in California, according to a report released last year by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The vast majority have no shelters. That means they are living on sidewalks or encampments, vehicles, or abandoned buildings. The plight of the unhoused people has reached horrific proportions. Yet rather than making the needed investments in housing, and I say cheap housing, or places where they can even set up tents, provide them with drug treatment or other services to help people get them off the street, local officials have used inhumane tactics in order to drive unhoused people out of town and out of sight. That's what we've been doing here in Turlock. We need to stop this driving people out of town, out of sight. One week I'll be on my walk and there'll be 2 or 3 homeless people. The next week they're not there. I understand they shouldn't be there. We don't want them. They need a place to be. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about moving them just any place in town. Give them a tent city, put restrooms there. How many of you have been out and haven't been able to go to the bathroom? It's pretty annoying when you can't go to the bathroom. Where are these people supposed to go? We can provide them with restrooms. We can provide them with some kind of a station. There's really no difference in what this plan was from the very beginning until now. It's the same old stuff. We're not doing anything. We have no intention of doing anything. There is plenty of money to take care of our homeless population here in Turlock. Thank you.
John? You notice I don't try your last name anymore? I brutalized you so many times.
That's fine. I'll just make a quick comment, if I may, about the homeless. I wasn't going to, but it's it's something I've been around for the last couple decades over in San Jose and here in Turlock. We've let this thing go by so long, and once you fall off the cliff, climbing back on is just an immense problem. And there's people dying every day, killing themselves, and everything else because of mental illness and everything else like that. We shut down the mental health facilities, which were actually just horrible places. They were institutionalized. People there really never got much help. It was a place for them to get them off the streets and everything, but it was really a horrible system. So anyhow, it's not easy. There is no easy answer about all these things because you can't force people to get things. Now I know right now the governor and legislatures are trying to say, hey, we're going to force you to do stuff. And I said, well, good luck getting that through all the civil liberties and everything else like that. So, but like I say, people got all sorts of problems, and trying to force them to get help and everything else like that, good luck. My main thing I wanted to talk tonight was about TID. We don't have a whole lot of things in a lot of communities to be proud of, but TID is absolutely one of the absolute best municipal services anywhere. They are top notch and everything else. The only thing I have a problem with them, though, is they're number 2 in the state for cheapest prices. Roseville is ahead of them. So, I'm just kidding. You go down a few miles to Merced County where PG&E is, and you'll pay about twice as much in the summertime for the basic units as you will here in Turlock. So, and the other thing I wanted to say about them is about reliability. Reliability, as we've seen all over the world now, with all of this solar panels and everything else like that. And finally, the governor woke up and finally said, well, I guess we really can't close a nuclear power plant, because if we do, we're going to have outages and everything else like that. So having reliability built into the system is something that TID does very well. We have a solar farm down in Bakersfield. We don't have a solar farm. We buy it and whatever, and we have a wind farm. And again, I don't know if we own the whole thing or if we just buy energy from it, but everybody chips into the pot. Everybody chips into the pot. We all share the expense, and we get whatever benefits you want to say. That's the way it should be done. All of this lunacy about putting solar panels on houses all over the country is just a waste of billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. It's not included in the cost of electricity or anything else. TID only pays 5 cents a kilowatt hour to put your excess thing on your excess electricity on the grid. PG&E until recently was paying 20 cents. So that's why a lot of people around here don't, get solar. It's just, even with the rebates and everything, we have cheap prices and they don't pay a whole lot. Well, that's going to change, about what they're going to pay, and they're going to, put solar farms where they should be as far south as you can in the deserts and everything else, because that's the best place to put them. So I just wanted to say but reliability is something that this country and this state has to be concerned about, because we're seeing all over the world that, what's happening with all this kind of good stuff. Put it in, but, if you can't bake in the price of all the transmission lines, and if you can't do all that stuff, because the government's paying for all that stuff. We're not paying for it, for all these things for the solar. And when that gets added into the cost, you'll find out what it really cost. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Is there anybody else wishing to speak? Mr. Bridegroom? Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. When the city of San Luis Obispo developed their cannabis ordinance, they understood that some of the applicants likely would have previously been involved in criminal activity, and thus took steps to protect themselves when granting cannabis permits. Their ordinance, application form, and background questionnaire stated, I quote, "An applicant shall be disqualified from applying for or obtaining a commercial cannabis operator permit if the applicant or any of his officers, directors, or owners, or any person listed in the application has been convicted of a felony, or the applicant made one or more false or misleading statements or omissions in the application process." These provisions allowed San Luis Obispo to revoke Natural Healing Center's dispensary permit when it was discovered that their founder, Mr. Helios Dayspring, lied on their application, lied to a police detective, and was convicted in federal court for bribery and tax evasion. As dispensaries are a cash-only business, the ordinance also required, I quote, "Each commercial cannabis business shall have in place a point-of-sale tracking system to track and to report on all aspects of the commercial cannabis business," end of quote. I cannot find any of these protections in Turlock's cannabis ordinance, which begs the question of just whose interest was Doug White serving when he developed our cannabis pilot program. The background investigator that our police department hired ignored numerous media reports by Cal Coast News, who has about as many followers as the Turlock Journal, that Mr. Dayspring was engaged in multiple illegal activities, including bribing local officials. Instead, he chose to smear the journalist, stating in his report, I quote, "She isn't a reporter. just someone who goes after anyone that does not line up with her view and desires for San Luis Obispo County, end of quote. 4 months after the investigator submitted his report to Turlock, the reporter's allegations were verified when the FBI raided Day Springs' home and the office of the county supervisor he was bribing. The term whitewash comes to mind. I now quote from several League of California Cities documents. Quote, quasi-judicial hearings are subject to federal and state due process, specifically the California statutory right to a fair hearing, and the federal due process clause of the 5th and 14th Amendments. In quasi-judicial proceedings, an ex parte communication is any relevant discussion with a decision maker that takes place outside a noticed proceeding that is open to all parties to the matter. As stated by the California Supreme Court, such communications lead to a deprivation of a fair hearing. I quote from their ruling. Administrative tribunals, such as the City Council, exercising quasi-judicial powers, cannot act on their own information. Nothing may be treated as evidence which has not been introduced as such, inasmuch as a hearing requires that the party be apprised of the evidence against him in order that he may refute, test, and explain it. End of quote. At the March 10th, 2020 quasi-judicial CUP appeal hearing, Council members Esker and Larson did not properly reveal their extensive ex parte communications. It was only after the mayor had closed the public hearing, where all evidence that could be considered had been introduced, that the council members revealed that they had done their own investigations and then elaborated on how they used that information to reach their decision in a clear violation of state law and state and federal guaranteed civil rights, which you swore to uphold when you took your oath of office. I've waited for 2 years to say that last bit. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the homeless coordinator. I had 2 more questions that I have come up with that I would like to ask. First of all, Sarah Eddy has worked in personnel, HR, and I'm wondering if she can give us an idea how difficult it will be to hire a qualified person to do a half-time job that's going to be extremely demanding. It's a job that really requires full-time effort and concentration, and if the person is only able to work for half a day, I think they're going to find themselves very frustrated at not being able to put a full day's work into the problem. I'd also like to ask the chief if he could give us some idea of the scope of the homeless problem, or the unhoused. How many homeless folks or unhoused folks do we have in Turlock? I don't know. And I really would like to get a better picture how many people are there. Can the chief give us an overall picture of all that is currently going on, all that his officer is dealing with today, what he does in his day-to-day work? I think those are big questions that we need to talk about as far as a half-time position versus full-time. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Michael?
Guys, hi Amy. So I have really good news.
Cool.
We're all in need for good news, right? So, my name is Michael. I'm also trying to come up with ideas for Stanislaus County Project 2030. Here's some ideas. So this is a true story. I wrote this letter to Mariah Carey from the city, from us to her. So I thought, since I'm doing big names, I thought I'd go ahead and let everyone know I was doing them. So this letter goes out to President Joe Biden. This goes out to myself, Governor Gavin Newsom, Mayor Bublak, Chief Nino, Jarek Disick, staff in Stanislaus County, Turlock senior citizens, Jennifer Jensen, public defender, Lord willing, something comes good out of this, Telecare of Modesto, Josh Harder, Gina Ferrari, QRS Music Technologies, Mariah Carey Personal Publicist Agent, Mariah Carey Publicist, Clinique Headquarters, and Hendrix Music, Barons and Morrissey, Boy Scouts of America, Turlock Nursing and Rehab, Pastor Wade, lead pastor at Calvary Baptist Church, Agricultural Department of Turlock High School, and Make-A-Wish Foundation. So this is the letter that went out to all of them with Mariah Carey. The story is, first of all, my name is Michael. My email address is going to be joelmichaels@mail.com, which mail.com, if you guys don't know, it's the Workforce Center. The Workforce Center has their own mail for you. It's mail.com. So I'm sticking with the forever stamp and mail.com. Okay. This is a time of rebirth, remembrance, and a true story. Being a Michael Joel in nature, it is my interest to preserve our country's history in any way that I can. Having past, current history, working with our elders and youth, I truly believe in filling generational gaps. When there's an event that involves music, I have found that using the current, past, and recurrent musics and converting modern pop, it always creates an excellent work environment for all to enjoy, hence Family Day. I would like to establish a small self-supporting exhibit in Turlock, California, 95380, 95382 at our new Carnegie Arts Center. This idea would be available and easily accessed and portable for community events. Community events could include music appreciation, downtown farmers market, Boy Scouts of America, and Turlock senior citizens, and all national holidays. Personally requested events would be free of charge. However, it would be a perfect time to accept donations. Let us not forget ourselves by yearly annual events. I'm also submitting this idea to our extremely talented Mayor Bublak. She previously served as a sheriff deputy for many years for the Turlock Police Department for many years. This is why many of us voted for her. She truly knows what the people need and the steps and procedures and to keep our lives family-oriented. During this time of pandemic, I truly felt the scrolls of man were being broken. Just like many in the world, at the time of remembrance, look to Revelation upon for wisdom, then to me for comforts of love. Our great city endured like New York. We were backed into a corner, and we pulled together. Scrolls must be clean and made to gather. I'm a certified activity director, OBRA, Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1987, OBRA, Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1987, and California State Title 22, it is my obligation to see no infraction that we center with an idea about making new old-fashioned player piano rolls. Currently, there is not one school in our town's living history collection to have a digital player piano or a player piano. I'm even talking about children's songs and hymns. I guarantee that there are one or two families that have availability. However, I do not impose these families to turn over a family heirloom, nor can I guarantee that they would be able to supply a staff of curators for each and every event. If we get this foundation rolling, then surely we can keep and curate a preservational account for ourselves and then eventually for many arts and schools around the world. First, a great thank you for all of our list of heroes. The list of heroes, hold on, I get back with me. The list includes Turlock Police Department, Emmanuel Medical Center, academic scholars. Heroes also include resident council members from various retirement villages. As for the town of Turlock, we are your home away from home. Check out Dodge Ridge Ski Resort. We love press conferences, mom and pop, and corporations. We live and love God's presence. If you could send any contribution and or celebrity headshot with a letter back showing your admiration, it would help add the raising of funds to our personal venture of adding to Carnegie Arts Center. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Wow.
But no, I'm not. I need more time.
How much more time?
5 minutes?
Ooh. Sorry, Michael.
All right.
Thank you so much. Can you leave a copy for us to see?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Up your water, Michael. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. Miss Eddie, can you speak to, you have a microphone there?
Yes. That's okay. I'll yell. Okay, so we have opened the part-time position for the homeless program coordinator. And we're reaching out as far as we can and hoping that we will find a position or someone to fill the position. It may be a little bit harder because it is a part-time position, but there are people out there, and we'll do our best to find someone to get that position filled.
And Chief.
I'll speak to what the first part of your question was. Terry, you were talking about our neighborhood resource officer. And through the reorganization, the city council has authorized 2 additional neighborhood resource officers. So they will be joining that team, and the police department, when we get up to full staffing, is going to commit another one. So we hope through our hiring and through the efforts of the city council and the city manager's office and the reorganization that we are able to get him some much needed help pretty soon. Alone, he has done several contacts, 319 contacts with homeless this year. That's quite a bit when you think about it, because that's contacts with individuals where he's doing interviews and talking to them and trying to really get down to the scope of what the problem is that led them to homelessness and offer them resources. Additionally, I think one of the questions that you asked is what is he doing? Enforcing the city ordinance, he has 135 citations or complaints that he's issued during that time period. He's handled 78 trespassing complaints, towed 112 vehicles, and made, adding today's statistics, 29 referrals to the county's care team. And that's just one component. The county's care team offers a host of services, mental health clinicians, behavioral health specialists, the enforcement piece through the county probation department, public health nurse. They have an analyst that supports them and provides statistics and works with the police department staff. That team has access to the police department now and access to our people, and their supervisor is coordinating with our people every week, if not daily, on these issues. They are now housed here in Turlock at 2102 Gear Road, Suite 120. So they're providing those services to us, and we are taking full advantage of that service and their willingness to support the police department in our efforts. So I hope that answers your question. You have the police department's full commitment to working with county homeless services. I will say, I don't have all of the information, but that county care team that I'm speaking of, I'll give you a save the date, May 19th. The police department's social media in the next day or two will have some more information about a pop-up event at the Turlock Gospel Mission where there'll be homeless services. They're going to do hair cutting. They have a couple barbers there, one of which happens to be the supervisor of the care team. And I don't have a lot of details, but I wanted to get it out to you at this point so that you know that we are working towards that.
Thank you both for answering that. Moving on, motion waiving reading of all, I'm sorry. You had something you want to say? Oh, motion waiving all ordinances on the agenda except by title.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
And a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passed 5-0, thank you. Consent calendar, any items to be removed or considered separate?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion?
And a second.
And a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passed 5-0. Final readings. This is a request to amend the Turlock Municipal Code Title 4 to add Chapter 19, Police Acquisition and Use of Military Equipment. This is a final reading. Captain Pacheco.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks again for the opportunity to speak to this matter. I won't go to, although I thought it was brief, going over the whole presentation we did just 2 weeks ago. Before you again is the final reading to amend the Turlock Municipal Code Title 4 to add Chapter 19, Police Acquisition and Use of Military Equipment. I think it's in your agenda packet. It's been provided via the internet to the community, so it is a final reading. So I think at this point I could just answer any questions the council may have.
Questions for the captain? None. All right, let's open it to the public. We'll just keep the list of questions and then answer at the end if you wouldn't mind. Thank you. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Ms. Bringer?
About the subject in general?
Sure, it's final reading on it, yeah.
Yeah, my question is, there have been a couple instances in the past where you've had a final reading and we haven't had public comment or discussion.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. I hear what you're saying. I know it's
So-
like probably shouldn't, I think, right? We're supposed to just vote? Is that right? I might have messed up. Thank you for that. Yeah, so that was my mistake. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So there was supposed to be public comment?
No.
There's
it-
not
it
supposed
shouldn't
to be?
Yes, final reading. So, yeah.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay.
You're helping me solidify how this works. I'm still a rookie. All right. Anyone else? Because I've already opened it. Let's be fair. Okay, we will close the public hearing and bring it back.
Motion to approve the ordinance.
Can I just make a comment? Before the vote, we're talking about the purchase of military equipment. I think it would just be really great if in the event that we are making investments into responsive measures towards public safety, that we as a council also recognize that equal, if not greater, investments should be made towards preventative measures. We're not talking about the budget right now, but it's just a thought and consideration as we move forward.
Real quick, if we can have clarification. We have a second here, but I'm sorry. Captain, can you just clarify, is this for us to order personal stuff for the city of Turlock?
I'm not saying that it is for the purchase of, I'm just recognizing that we are talking about the languaging of military equipment for our police. And just as policymakers, I think it would be great if, as we go forward in budgetary discussions, when we are making investments towards militarization, we are making equal, if not greater, investments towards prevention. And that's a discussion for our council, not necessarily our staff.
I wouldn't disagree. Okay, so the vote we're having tonight is on the ordinance that the state of California has mandated us to do. We have a motion and a second. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Public hearings, item A. It was. Thank you. Ms. Quintero, you ready?
Yes. Good evening. The next three items are the final part of ordering the formation of landscaping and lighting assessment districts. So the item before you tonight for item B is for the formation of the lighting landscape assessment district for the parcel at 824 North Golden State Boulevard. It was a condition of approval for the Starbucks development. And this is the third and final step in the process for the public hearing. After the public hearing, the clerk will confirm receipt of the appropriate ballots to let council know we can move forward with the formation of the district.
Okay. Where are we at then? Do you have a question?
Can we take these?
No. I already asked, thank you. Because there's a ballot included, is what the attorney told me. So, I did this last time with you and got it all screwed up. And so I'm really kind of a little scared right now. So,
This one's a little different from the CFD, so I think it'd be appropriate now, if there's no questions from council, that we can open the public hearing, then bring it back for confirming the receipt of the ballot, and then can move forward with council action.
totally two different orders. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay. Anybody wanting to speak to this item? Okay, we'll close that public hearing and it's back to you.
Okay. And now to the clerk to confirm receipt of the ballot.
Okay, thank you. I would like to report the only ballot received for this item is in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of. Therefore, no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
All right, having that in mind,
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati? Yes. Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Next one.
Okay, item C is then the third and final part of the process to form the assessment district. This is for the property at 3200 Fulkworth Road. It was a condition of approval to form the district as part of the minor discretionary permit issued for the construction of Amazon at 3200 Fulkworth Road. Here to answer any questions if council has any.
Questions for staff? Okay, we'll open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak on this assessment on landscaping? Closing it, bringing it back, Madam Clerk?
Thank you. I'd like to report the only ballot received for this item is in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of, therefore no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
Motion to approve item 7C and the resolution thereof.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. On to Dutch Bros.
Okay, and the final is for the formation of the assessment district for 699 North Golden State Boulevard. This was part of the Dutch Brothers minor discretionary permit as a condition. And again, this will be the third and final hearing for this item.
Questions for staff? All right, opening it to public. Anyone wishing to speak on this? Closing public hearing, bringing it to our clerk.
Thank you. I'd like to report that of the two ballots received for this item, both were in favor of the district. No ballots were received in opposition of, therefore no majority protest exists, and the council may form the district.
Outstanding.
Motion to approve item 7D and the resolution thereof.
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Quintero. Good evening, Mr. Huff.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. This item before you is a proposed amendment to the Turlock Municipal Code to incorporate requirements from Senate Bill 1383. Earlier this year, this information was presented and adopted by City Council, but unfortunately, the ordinance unintentionally omitted a portion of the information discussed and are included in this update. The update does include two sections on edible food recovery, specifically requirements for commercial food generators to donate surplus edible food and maintain contracts with the food recovery organizations or services. And finally, record-keeping requirements for both the generator and recovery organizations. As I mentioned, these items are mandated by the state, and this amendment will help ensure the city of Turlock is fully in compliance with SB 1383. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Huff? Nothing that you can answer, why the state's doing this, none of that?
I can't answer that.
All right, let's open it to the public. Anyone wishing to speak regarding this item? Okay, we will close the public hearing and bring it back. It's the will of council. Don't we have to vote first, one time?
I'm sorry?
We vote first this is the first vote on this ordinance, or second?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, motion to approve?
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. Call the roll, please.
I'm sorry, so I have Councilmember Larson?
Councilmember Larson, and then
Thank
Vice
you.
Mayor's very soft-spoken over here.
Okay. Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nazrati?
Yes.
Councilmember Moniz?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Franco?
Yes.
Mayor Bublak?
Yes, thank you, 5-0. And that rounds up to city manager updates. Mr. Wilson?
I don't have anything.
You got nothing? All right.
Nothing to add tonight.
That's quick.
I just was looking at the clock and really decided.
Council items for future consideration, comments and announcements all at one. Councilman Larson, anything? All of the above.
I just wanted to give a shout out to thank Dan Madden for giving a great tour of our recycling, of our our treatment plant out there, and it was fantastic. It's amazing what we do. There were leaders in so many ways, sustainability and how we treat our water and how we provide it. So it's just a fantastic piece of our city story, and I encourage the public to reach out to our municipal services department if you're interested in having a public tour. I'm not sure if we're doing it now after COVID, but we should start because it's really cool. So. Okay, great. We have a nod back here. Thank you. And it was a great time. Most of my questions were just like, if I ate this or drank this, would I die? But there's a lot more interesting things that you could ask about the really cool stuff.
And Mr. Madden actually did it, didn't he?
No, he answered them very thoroughly. We had
Well,
a
I mean,
great
he
time.
drank it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
A pro.
Councilmember?
Yeah, I have 3.5 hours of updates and comments.
Outstanding.
No, just a couple things. One thing that was mentioned. One thing that was mentioned this past week related to trash services, and something that I think would be really great for us to consider is with the addition of some of the fees and whatnot, the idea that maybe we could be covering more trash pickups for large items. So I think that would be great for us to provide some additional coverage for our residents there. And then maybe this is something that needs to be agendized for closed session, but a full understanding of the cannabis permit revocation process or options related to that, what's available to this council. And comments, thank you all of the staff that helped make this weekend's event possible. You guys were amazing, and it was really great working with you all.
Thank you to the city for Love Turlock. We had a great turnout, and thank you to our staff who were out there at the park. You guys did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you to the staff for Love Turlock and the vice mayor who worked herself into feeling sick. Katie Quintero, I can't thank you enough. I know you're getting phone calls and you're getting hammered and you're feeling everything. And I'm so appreciative that you are just taking it out one at a time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was Mother's Day weekend. That was no bueno. You can't. I was like, thank you for answering, but don't send me another one until it's Monday. So we appreciate you working, but you have to have an off life. And then I already wrote it down, but Love Turlock turned out really great, and Donnelly Park was just outstanding. Staff had it all set up really beautifully, and it was a good turnout. People were really positive, so Turlock shined. I really appreciate it. On to closed session.
Okay, tonight for closed session, we have, I'm sorry, Mayor, did you want to go back to item 10A for scheduling upcoming workshop dates?
Oh, did I? You know what? You did something new, and I didn't even read it, huh? Yeah, I guess I do want to do that. Yeah. He did. Are there dates that you're looking at there specifically? I guess Mr. Moreno's probably trying to have, do you have specific workshop dates or something, or housing dates, anybody?
We do have a specific workshop for.
When?
We want some dates on May
17th.
May 17th, budget workshop.
That's a big no.
What day of the week is that?
Tuesday. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, as long as we're done by 8. Well, 7, sorry.
7?
I have to be out of here by 7 to get to an airport.
Okay, we were looking to have a joint workshop. We'll have to discuss it a little bit more then. Okay. How that's gonna flow.
Was there any other, for roads? Okay.
Oh, yes, we have a road.
Well, that was the comment.
That's the joint.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll have to flesh that out a little bit more.
Okay.
We're potentially trying to have a joint one at that point. So we'll assess and see how quickly we can go through those topics.
Outstanding. All right, and then, I'm sorry, now we could go there.
Oh, okay. For closed session, item 12A is conference with labor negotiators, California Government Code 54957.6, and the agency designated representative is Deputy City Manager Sarah Eddy. Employee organization is Turlock Management Association, Public Safety.
All right, and we will report out, should there be anything to report?
Email, and then it's capital Turlock, and number 4, and then that should be, yeah.
All right, and we're back, and we have no reportable action. So we will be adjourning. Thank you all. We'll let you know if there's a workshop between now and the next meeting. Good evening.
The ownership percentages also
Okay.
of all of those. So I know that's changed. Right. Because quote unquote, he has gifted or something to,
Oh, I gotta grab my stuff. Thank you, Regan.
to Miss Garcia. So
Okay. I will pull that email.
I don't know